Organ meats such as liver, kidneys, and sweetbreads are often praised as some of the most nutrient-dense foods available, and that reputation is well-deserved. They contain exceptionally high levels of iron, vitamin A in its active retinol form, vitamin B12, folate, choline, copper, zinc, and a wide range of other micronutrients that support red blood cell production, neurological function, immune health, and energy metabolism. In traditional diets, organ meats were valued precisely because small amounts could prevent nutrient deficiencies when food variety was limited. However, this nutritional concentration also makes them problematic for certain populations, especially people with gout or chronically elevated uric acid, where the risks can outweigh the benefits. The primary concern with organ meats is their extremely high purine content. Purines are natural compounds found in all cells, but organ meats contain them in far higher concentrations than most muscle meats or plant foods. When purines are metabolized, they are converted into uric acid. In people with efficient uric acid clearance, this rise may be temporary and harmless. In individuals with gout, impaired kidney excretion of uric acid, or a genetic tendency toward hyperuricemia, the same intake can lead to a sharp spike in blood urate levels. This spike can trigger acute gout attacks characterized by intense pain, swelling, redness, and inflammation in the joints, most commonly the big toe, but also the ankles, knees, wrists, and fingers. Importantly, gout attacks are not only painful but also inflammatory events that can damage joint tissue over time if they recur. What makes organ meats especially risky is how quickly and strongly they can raise uric acid compared with other protein sources. A portion of liver or kidneys can deliver more purines than an entire meal built around lean poultry, fish, or legumes. Even small servings may be enough to push uric acid above a person's individual threshold. This means that advice like eat in moderation often fails in practice for people with gout because the margin between moderate and too much is very narrow. Repeated exposure, even if infrequent, can also contribute to chronically elevated uric acid, increasing the long-term risk of joint damage, kidney stones, and reduced kidney function. Beyond purines, there are additional concerns that strengthen the case for caution. Liver is one of the richest dietary sources of preformed vitamin A. While vitamin A is essential for vision, immune defense, and cell differentiation, excessive intake of retinol can be toxic. Regular consumption of liver can push vitamin A intake above safe upper limits, especially when combined with fortified foods or supplements. This is particularly concerning for pregnant women or those planning pregnancy because high vitamin A intake is associated with birth defects. For people with gout who may already be managing multiple dietary restrictions, the risk of vitamin A excess adds another layer of complexity. Another issue is that organ meats tend to concentrate environmental contaminants more than muscle meat, as the liver and kidneys are involved in detoxification and filtration. While food safety standards reduce this risk, frequent consumption can still increase exposure to heavy metals or other residues, particularly when sourcing is inconsistent. From a metabolic standpoint, organ meats are also often higher in cholesterol, which may matter for individuals who also have metabolic syndrome, insulin resistance, or cardiovascular risk factors, conditions that commonly coexist with gout. It's also important to consider the broader dietary pattern. Gout and high uric acid rarely exist in isolation. They are strongly linked to excess alcohol intake, especially beer, high consumption of fructose and sugar-sweetened beverages, dehydration, obesity, and insulin resistance. Including organ meats in a diet that already contains these risk factors amplifies the overall burden on uric acid metabolism. In this context, even nutrient-dense foods can become harmful when they push the body beyond its capacity to maintain balance. For practical management, most clinical guidelines and gout specialists advise avoiding organ meats altogether or limiting them to extremely rare occasions, with very small portions, if at all. This is not a recommendation based on fear of nutrients, but on consistent evidence linking high-purine animal foods to gout flares. For people who enjoy the taste or cultural significance of organ meats, it's important to recognize that the potential pleasure of eating them must be weighed against the very real possibility of days or weeks of pain afterward. Many people with gout report that organ meats are among their most reliable flare triggers. Fortunately, the key nutrients found in organ meats can be obtained from safer sources with far lower purine loads. Vitamin B12 is abundant in eggs, dairy, fish, and lean meats. Iron can be supplied through moderate amounts of lean red meat, poultry, seafood, or plant sources such as lentils, beans, tofu, spinach, and fortified grains, especially when paired with vitamin C to enhance absorption. Choline is present in eggs and legumes, while zinc and copper can be found in nuts, seeds, whole grains, and seafood. For people with gout, low-fat dairy is particularly valuable, as it has been shown to help lower uric acid levels and reduce gout risk. If dietary restrictions make it difficult to meet certain micronutrient needs, targeted supplementation can be considered, but this should be done cautiously and ideally under medical supervision. Iron and vitamin A supplements, in particular, should not be taken casually, as excess intake can cause harm. Blood tests can help determine whether supplementation is actually necessary rather than assumed. In summary, organ meats are undeniably nutritious, but they're also among the most dangerous foods for people with gout or elevated uric acid. Their extreme purine content, potential to rapidly raise blood urate, risk of triggering painful flares, and added concerns around vitamin A excess and metabolic stress make them a poor choice for regular consumption in this population. For those managing gout, long-term joint health and quality of life are better supported by choosing lower purine protein sources, maintaining good hydration, limiting alcohol and sugar, and focusing on a balanced dietary pattern that supports stable uric acid levels rather than testing the body's limits with foods that are nutritionally dense but physiologically risky.